Hey, Frugal Freddy. Hey, Felice. Welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hello.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
We are doing well. We're glad to have you guys here because you guys have been fighting to get out of a lot of debt. And there's been some ups and downs, some twists and turns, but you're here to talk about your journey thus far. This is part of our In the Middle series where we talk to people who are currently in the fight for their freedom. And so we're glad that you guys have been willing to come on here and share your journey thus far. But before we jump into your story, can you just say hello to everybody that's tuned in right now and let them know what you guys are all about?
Hello, everybody. You'll say anything?
I was gonna say, he said, let them know what you're all about. Hi, I'm Felice Wilson.
I'm Alfred Wilson, aka Frugal Freddy. We started our debt-free journey when we got married in 2017, and we've been fighting the good fight for a good while. So we'll probably dive into this a little bit more a little later, but we actually recently paused our debt-free journey to kind of focus on our wealth journey. So, go ahead, add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get into a lot of the specifics surrounding what sparked the debt-free journey. And Alfie has a lot, and I call him Alfie, so that's just me. But he has a lot of background as to how we've come into the debt that we've been aggressively attacking and now taking a pause on, and really just learning a lot more related to our financial journey and what goals we want to accomplish and what legacy we want to leave behind. So we're really excited to be sharing with you guys today.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the backstory. Tell everybody a little bit about your debt. How much debt in total, and what type of debt did that consist of, and how much have you guys paid off thus far?
So actually, all the debt is mine. I brought in $145,000 of debt, mostly student loan debt. And I always tell this story. So on our first date, I brought up how much debt that I owed. So I gave her the opportunity to either stay or leave. So she's still here. We're married. We've been married 2 years. We got a baby. So it worked out. And I always tell people when they're in that dating phase, just be very transparent about that, because that can come up to bite, whoever in the butt later on.
Yeah, and when he was transparent about his debt situation before we got married, I had a little bit of student loan debt that I was just kind of playing around with that was outstanding that I could have knocked out at any point in time. So I made sure to take care of that prior to us getting married with some bonus money from work. So I was like, I don't want to be bringing in debt as well. So if I can knock it out, I'll go ahead and knock it out so that we can focus on aggressively attacking the debt that he was bringing in.
And how much was that you knocked out prior to marriage?
It was like somewhere between 15 and 20,000 that I had left.
That's a big deal.
You saying like it just wasn't nothing,
yeah.
15, 20,000.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Like from the time that I graduated college and started working my professional career, I really could have, if I would have known what I know now and a lot of Dave Ramsey, a lot of different people that we've been following, I could have had it taken care of very easily. So like I said, I was playing around with it, and it was, I was blessed and fortunate enough to work for a job that has had incentive compensation, and I was able to take care of the majority of it and then dipped into my savings a little bit to just go ahead and knock the rest out.
Love it.
So when you first heard Freddie's transparency, I mean, was it just, no big deal? Or was there a moment there like, wait, how much did you say? And then like, how did you work through that? Because like he said, he gave you the opportunity to go left or go right, and you chose to stay right next to him. So talk about what all went into that, because somebody may have are at a point where they haven't shared that number out of fear with the person they're dating. And, they may wonder if that person will stick around or not. So talk to us about when he first hit you with that number and what your process was like to come to your ultimate decision.
I think ultimately when he shared the amount of debt that he had, and knowing that the majority of it was attained through acquiring education, like I'm very passionate about, like if you're going to be spending money and amassing debt, that it be towards something that actually means something. So the majority of it being student loan debt, it was just kind of like, it is what it is. He has bachelor's degree, his MBA as well, and I understood the reason why, and his passion and drive and dedication towards paying it off. Like he went through a lot in trying to get a lot of the debt paid off prior to us getting married, but then us also joining finances once we got married, to be able to get rid of it. He was working at Subway, Target,
delivering food.
And this was all during us dating each other. And like, he came to better understand a lot of different financial influencers and things like that as we were coming together. Because I think he felt a lot of guilt with bringing in the debt. But again, I wasn't dating or trying to marry for potential. I saw passion, drive, and I saw who God destined him to be. And knowing those different things, I think, helped me look past that. And it wasn't just a matter of, oh, you know, he went crazy shopping, bought a car, and all of these different things that brought it there. The majority of it was for student loan and a washer and dryer, like things that he actually needed. So I knew that it wasn't going to be a big hurdle to overcome related to his financial discipline. I think he probably has more hurdles to get over with me than himself when it comes to spending.
So Freddie, did you pay down some of the debt prior to getting married? If so, how much of that? And then what was your game plan once you guys did get married? What was your game plan to start knocking out some of this debt?
So before we got married, I paid off about $18,000. Like you said, I was working at Target, Subway. We were selling stuff. I was delivering food with like Postmates.
We moved in together. Which helped out a lot before we got married. So like, it was really a grind. And I wanted to do that before we got married to show her like, hey, I'm not playing around. Like, I think I paid off like 2 loans and then I paid off my car. And it was just full gone. And like, we didn't stop once we got married. It's just like, once we were able to combine our finances, our weapon was bigger to fight whatever the battle that we were fighting. So we had more money to attack the debt, and we were very aggressive. Some months paying $6,000 towards debt. And it got really intense. And like we were just talking before we got on, like it got exhausting as well. You know, this fight is not an easy fight, but it's definitely worth it. But, you know, we just have to be more mindful of the timeliness of it. You know, it's going to be gone, but we don't need to go full throttle now. And, you know, that's what led us to us pausing our debt-free journey. Yeah, and I've had my struggles personally with us paying down the debt. When you get married, yes, you do combine, like if you make the choice to combine finances, and we made the choice to attack the debt aggressively and all of that, but there's still this little person in the back of your head that's like, well, it's not my debt. So like when there's times when I want to splurge on something or buy something, and my splurges are like, I like makeup, so I buy makeup products. And when he's judging me, I'm like, but I don't get to splurge that often. So like, we have those kind of battles back and forth when it comes to our finances and things like that. But we've basically stayed aligned on what the goal and the vision is. And that's attributed to us taking a pause right now and just trying to reset our goals and our vision, and making sure that we're focused on not just the one way of paying down debt aggressively, but what are other ways in which we can make sure that we're building wealth in the process, because we do want to leave a legacy behind. We have a child now. We want to continue down that path and just be prepared for that.
So how long has it taken you guys to pay off this debt before the pause? And tell everybody how much that you guys paid off again. And then what were some of the things that you guys did to pay off this debt?
So it took us about 2 years. We paused it in December of 2019, and we paid off, maybe, was it 80,000?
Whatever, 145, and now sitting at like 60,000 equals.
Yeah, we've decreased it by about $80,000. And I mean, it's surreal, to be honest with you.
In 2 years?
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. And I kind of started before we got married, but our debt-free journey started when we got married.
Yeah.
So it's been a grind. It's definitely been a grind. So like, just looking back and even thinking about it now, it's just like, man, we really did that. And, you know, and I think that's one thing that we were intentional about when we paused it, is to celebrate that. You know, we're not giving up on the go. We're just realigning and having a different strategy now.
And that was also in the midst of, right before we got married, we were also aggressively saving for our wedding, so that we were not having to use any credit or anything towards our wedding. We paid cash for the wedding.
We cash flowed our wedding, which was very a daunting task, but we were able to do it. And like I said, we sold things. So we made about $5,000 just from selling the junk in our home. And I preach that to people. Like, there's stuff in your house that you could make money off of. So we've done
that
you haven't touched in years. We've done that.
How did you all sell it? Facebook, Craigslist,
Marketplace. We had a garage sale. We did those monthly in the summer. Like, we literally just put our stuff out in the corner, and people would drive by and buy stuff from us.
Or people that we know are looking for certain things, like especially now with having a lot of baby stuff, like other people having babies and things like that. Like, there's always a market for whatever you have as long as it's still in good condition. And the reality is we had a lot of stuff just sitting in the basement, collecting dust that we no longer treasure, but we knew that other people would treasure.
Yeah. And then budgeting, like, I know everyone says that, but like a zero-based budget definitely helped us. Like, we were able to be very intentional where we were putting our money to. Most of it was going towards that, but we were able to, she has an allowance, I have an allowance, and then we're able to pay our bills, tithe, and do all that good stuff. So having that budget plan in place, selling our junk, and getting our side hustle on, it definitely helped.
Yeah, it's funny, like, we both have our own bank accounts, but then we have a bank account for the baby, and then we have joint bank accounts as well, because we have to be that meticulous in making sure that the money is going where it should go with the budget to make sure that we're staying on task.
And what were some of the side hustles that you guys did?
Selling our stuff. I worked. She stayed at home, so I was like doing Target part-time, working at Subway, and then like I said, delivering food with Postmates.
Love reading, but wish you had more time to get into your favorite books? What if you could use the time you already have and listen to the books you already love? Well, now you can with Audible. With Audible books, you can be inspired, entertained, and educated anywhere, anytime. Choose from the bestsellers in self-development, business, nonfiction, and more. So what are you waiting for? Your first 30 days are free. Visit hisandhermoney.com/audible to get started today. That's hisandhermoney.com/audible.
All right, I want to rewind just a second, because you talked about how there were moments where you'd be like, listen, this ain't my debt, brother. And you wanted to go out and get some makeup here and there or get whatever. So in those moments, right, when the temperature was up, when you had those thoughts, I don't feel like budgeting is hard. I don't feel like paying off debt is hard. I want this thing that I want. How did you work through that? What type of conversations were you all having to help you find balance, a middle ground, get on the same page with each other during because $80,000 in 2 years means y'all was pedal to the metal. So talk about those intense moments and how you guys came on one accord.
We were literally just talking about this beforehand. I think to put things into perspective for people, on top of recently getting married and paying off this debt, and then also throwing a baby into the mix, one of the things that I think has helped keep us grounded is that we've gone to couples counseling. We are two very different people coming from two very different backgrounds and having to learn how to communicate with each other, learning more and more about each other. And I think that has helped us in trying to get things on the table that you otherwise either you let things fester and don't express until things blow up, or it just ends up being this weird undertone. For me, the biggest struggle was that I was so used to being financially independent from my family and just spending money how I saw fit. But the reality of the situation was that I wasn't budgeting my money. I wasn't saving my money. I was just I met my needs. Yeah. I met my needs, and then I would spend and look up and not realize, like, oh, I literally just burned through that. And it was never an instance where I felt like I was going without, but I did not have that financial discipline. I am more the spender and he is more the saver in the relationship. So I think a lot of coming to Jesus moments for both of us, and just being transparent in our communication. Like, a lot of the reason why we're pausing the debt right now is just because we've had conversations around what our goals are, and do we want to have another kid? Do we want to save for a house? We want to be able to invest and do all these different things. And what does that look like? And how do we accomplish that? And we've had to take pause just to realign and make sure that we're on the same page. Yeah. But yeah, we were talking about, I was like, listen, I want people to understand this is not an easy task to combine your finances together first and foremost, and let go of the my money versus his money aspect of things, and really looking at it as our money, and this is our bucket of money, and how we're going to allocate things. It is a work in progress every single day, but it does not work without communicating with each other, even if that means having a nasty argument. We have to come back together. and
those happen.
Yes, we definitely do have disagreements when it comes to our finances, but it's important to just throw things out there and make sure that everything is on the table constantly, and constantly meeting with each other over our finances.
And to that point, we definitely do the monthly meetings where we talk about this stuff. I think going in 2020, we're probably a little bit more frequent rather than just once a month. And I think that will be, to the communication point, like that is so important. And us being newlyweds, like communication. If it wasn't for that, I don't think we would be where we're at now. Even for the debt, like if it wasn't for the debt, I don't think we would be thinking the way we're thinking about money now too. So it is definitely a blessing in disguise, because we're definitely opposites when it comes to money, which is okay in my book. I don't like to spend money, but we have to spend money to enjoy life. And we have to find those things that really bring value to our life. So we like to travel. And I always tell her, like, let's blow the bag on our travel. And I'm okay with that. But all the other stuff, like eating out, like we've been back trying to be meal plan and meal prep.
I love food.
And she loves food, which is okay. Like, but I'm talking about like fast food. Like, you know, we don't need all that. Like, we want to go out to dinner. Let's go out to dinner and let's ball out. But let's budget for it too.
Love it.
And balance. It's balance, because like we said before, like I'm definitely the spender, and it can be a humbling experience to be looking at your spouse and knowing that you're being faced with the opportunity areas of yourself. So there are things that I think at times that he may bring up, like, hey, Felice, you went over the budget. And I immediately get offended because I'm like, but we needed that salad that ended up getting thrown out. But it's a humbling experience for me to be able to say, you know what, he is right. So chill out and be okay with being given some feedback.
You guys kind of touched on my next question. Not a lot of people talk about pausing their debt-free journey, but a lot of people do it, right? A lot of people do. They're just not really admitting it.
But sometimes it's unintentional. They just gave up.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But sometimes it was intentional. And just told people, oh yeah, I paid off debt in 2 years, but did not really talk about the pauses. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the pause. You guys have stopped. How long have you stopped? The real reason why you stopped. I know that you guys mentioned you all kind of want to think about other goals and things like that. And then what's your plan?
So we paused about a month ago in December. So the real reason, from my perspective, like I told her, the debt became too much of our marriage. That's something we was talking about too much. And I'm like, look, we can pause it. You know, I don't care about the debt right now. It's about the marriage and us being one. The debt's going to be gone regardless. It may not be as fast as we want it, but it will be gone. So for me, it was like, let's not save our marriage, but like, let's focus on that. Let's focus on being married. Let's focus on being parents. And then how can we find other ways to pay off the debt? So I'm sure you guys are familiar with house hacking. So we're definitely looking into that. So we, can utilize that money that we were going to pay towards housing, towards our debt, and as well as build equity in a home. So that's my perspective. I love to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I think it definitely started to take over our marriage in a lot of ways. And we needed to work on ourselves foundationally a lot more. It was the big elephant in the room when we got married. That wasn't an elephant because we talked about it a whole lot, but it can be intense if that is all that you're focused on. And especially if for whatever reason, the goal moves out. For me, that was the big struggle for me. It's like initially before we had our baby, it was, this is the date that we have it paid off by. And when that date started moving and it started feeling like, dang, is it ever going to go away? Because we saw the vision beyond the debt, and with it not being paid off in the timing that we initially set, I think there was a little bit of disappointment in that. But then we had to reset again and realize, like, we've come a long way and we've paid down a lot. And in the grand scheme of things, with us combining our finances and us being diligent about how we budget, we can get the debt paid off very easily, but let's go ahead and tackle some of these other goals.
Right.
And one other thing that was a reason behind it, we did not budget for the holiday season the way we should have initially.
Yeah, that's
and
that's a lesson learned, like going forward.
Yeah.
Like creating sinking funds for holiday shopping, because it'll come to November, we're like, oh crap, we got Christmas coming.
And everybody's talking about, oh, we getting you X, Y, and Z. We're like, ooh.
And we try to tell people, don't buy us anything, so we don't have to buy you anything. But people buy us stuff, and we're actually we still got to do Christmas shopping. So
there's still some residual Christmas shopping that has to happen.
Yeah.
But we hadn't planned, and that's why I think it paused specifically in December. But initially we talked about just pausing in December, but we still have discussions on what does resuming look like, because the pause right now is really just paying the minimums.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're deciding, okay, so yeah, we're going to do that, but do we get back to the aggressive payment, or is there a moderate, something in between that we feel comfortable with, that we're still able to attain these different goals that we're working towards as well? So that's really the reasoning behind the pause, ultimately making sure that we're still in tune with each other and that it's not taking over our relationship,
right.
And then being able to accomplish some goals.
Yeah.
This is dope.
Love it.
So just for clarity, for those who don't know, the term house hacking is when you get a property. It could be a multi-unit situation. You live in one, you rent out the other units, and in a lot of instances, the rent from the other units either pays most of or all of the expenses associated with the property, therefore leaving you with less of a burden, and you have an asset building at the same time. Some people get just a single family home, but maybe rent out rooms. There's multiple ways to do it, but it is a great wealth building strategy, just for those who aren't aware of what that term means. Now, this is why the His and Her Money Show is the realest on the internet.
It is. I agree.
We don't just come with just like polished trophy stories. We get into the real deal, right? We keep it all the way funky on this show, unlike others. But I want to know, you have a lot of hindsight right now, 2 years into the marriage, 2 years into the debt freedom journey, based on everything that you've learned, the bumps that you've been up against that led you to this pause, the realignment that you all are currently in the midst of. If you could go back to day one, how would your approach differ?
That's a good question. I never thought about that. I would say on the top of my mind, I wouldn't change it. I think life happens when it's as it's supposed to happen. And I think, like I said earlier, if it wasn't for this debt, I don't think we'll be thinking the way that we're thinking about money and wealth building that generational wealth, teaching our kids about money and teaching, the community about money. And I think God has put us through this to really be of value to the world. Because, that here in Columbus, we do a lot of things in the community around different meetups. When we go out, people, oh, hey, Frugal Freddy, hey, Felice. Sometimes they call her Frugal Fee. But she hasn't embraced that yet. But it's just one of those things where I think God has put us in this position to be a gift to others and to ourselves and our family.
So you wouldn't change anything. I don't think that there's necessarily anything that I would change. I think I would have just been more mindful about my approach to spending and different things that I've placed value on in the past that in the grand scheme of things are sitting around collecting dust, like we talked about, selling our stuff. Like, is it really truly a need? I often talk about with Alfie, like when he's evaluating what I want to purchase or something like that, like just rip the Band-Aid off. Just either tell me no or tell me ask me does this make sense for us right now? Because sometimes he'll be like, I don't know. What do you think?
She say that now, but
yes, I prefer more directness. So if anything, a little bit more no in the past probably would have gone a long way. But ultimately, he's right. Like, God has brought us to this specific time and place on purpose, with purpose, and we're just enjoying that ride right now.
What I love about your story is a lot of times we put emphasis, even on our show, like we highlight people who've paid off this amount of debt in 10 months, and it's not a race, right? It's not a sprint. And it's not a sprint. It's not a marathon. But it's really not a race. It's not about who comes in first, second, or third. It's that we finish.
Yeah.
And so I love how you all are taking your approach, and you're not saying that you won't pay off this debt, that you're just going to accumulate more debt. You're just saying we're pausing right now. We're enjoying the ride, and we're going to do it on our terms.
Re-strategizing.
And I love it. I absolutely love that. So now in the holding, now that you guys are in the holding pattern, what are some of the things that you all are doing though You may not be paying down debt, but are you saving, or are you guys splurging and enjoying just life right now?
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. We're definitely we're about to start saving for the down payment for our new first house. We're being more intentional about our date nights and really having a budget line item for that. Because that was one of the things, like I said, like that was not lacking, but it wasn't really there because life was happening to us. So being more intentional about that, being more intentional about traveling, leveraging different family members in different cities where we can save money on there. Being more intentional about our budget, being a little bit more aggressive on that, and then just wealth building. Like one of the things, our daughter's birthday is coming up, and we want to gift her a 529 plan and open up her investor account for a birthday gift, and just being intentional about that. And I think our intentionality is something that's going to increase as we go forward.
She's still gonna get some toys.
Oh yeah, she gets some toys, but I got to come with that side, and
that's his side, and I'm all about the like motor skills and like Montessori play and all that kind of stuff.
So we balance. We balance each other out. Like I wouldn't personally spend that much money on it, but it provides value to our daughter, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and I think your story also touches on, there are plenty of people that we've had on the show and plenty of people that are listening right now. When you add this intense debt-free journey on top of a brand new marriage and then a brand new baby, it is super easy for it to infiltrate every area of your life and then consume, and you didn't really give your marriage the proper time to, because it's hard to be just married without subtract the debt-free journey. Newlyweds, two, like you all said earlier, two different people coming together to blend their lives. It's important, as you all have mentioned and as you all have found out, to have intentionality about building that foundation of just you two and your life together. And I think that's an important part of this story, is that for all of you all listening, watching, who are, whether you're young in marriage or not, when you add this, you are adding intensity to your marriage. Make sure your foundation is firm, because money is not easy. It is absolutely worth the fight to get out of debt. It's worth the fight to build wealth, but it is a fight. And you need to make sure that you two are okay with just being okay with you two before you start talking about, all right, let's rearrange our whole lives. You're not buying as much makeup. We're not buying as many toys. We didn't get nobody no Christmas gifts. Before you do all that, make sure that you two are all right. And I think that is a healthy point that you all have brought out beautifully in your story.
Yes.
Yes, it's ongoing. It's an ongoing growth journey for us. But yeah, we apparently we like challenges, because that was a lot to pile on in a short period of time, but all in God's time as well.
It's amazing what you guys have done thus far, and I know that even the next chapter in this story is going to be awesome as well. So tell people, because as you all are working through this, you all are documenting the journey and helping others along the way. So let everybody know how they can keep up with your story and keep up with you guys.
Okie dokie. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Frugal Freddy. You can visit my website at frugal-freddy.com. And my wife and my life is Fee on Instagram. You want to add anything?
No.
Yeah.
I'm where he's at.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all talk about like pronouns, like it's our journey. Like although it's my page is Frugal Freddy, it's still our money, our journey, XYZ. So.
Yeah, and he shares a lot from his perspective. On my page, I sprinkle in, there's a lot of baby on my page, but I sprinkle in a lot of my perspective on just what we go through as a couple as well, because I think there's beauty in transparency and growth and healing in transparency as well, which we haven't seen a lot in the generations before us, being transparent and a lot of the different things that they go through. But we hope to be able to touch other people by our journey and our experience.
You will definitely do that. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
This was amazing. Thank you guys so much for being transparent and willing to come and just share your heart and your story with the audience today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.